Welcome to another episode of the Life in Motion podcast.
I'm your host, Ben Aguila, and our topic for this episode is challenges of PT licensure for internationally educated PTs from Italy. Our guest today is Francesca Raponi. Francesca has a physical therapy license from the state of Maryland since 2017, but she originally obtained her physical therapy education from the University of La Sapienza, Roma, Italy. She has certifications in PNF, Mezier's method, and completed a program for clinical physical therapy postural education as well from the University of the Sacro Cuore, Italy. She has an extensive volunteer and community service background, having served in churches, hospitals, clinics in San Antonio and Baltimore. She is a native Italian speaker, proficient in written spoken English, and I am so happy to have her here with us on the show. Francesca, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me today, Ben. Thank you for this nice introduction. Thank you very much. I'm very happy.
It just writes itself. It's a wonderful resume to read. But before we go further, could you please tell us about your journey and how you became a physical therapy in Italy?
Sure. So I was born in Rome, in Italy. And I grew up doing sports. I really loved, enjoy gymnastics, athletics, swimming. I was so lucky to live very close by the sea. So I still enjoy a lot of outdoors, like biking and jogging. And I also grew up with a strong fascination towards those professionals able to help those in need. So doctors, nurses, they were able to care for others. So when it came the time for me, to pick what do you want to be when you grow up, I figure physical therapy is a good fit. So I found myself, trying to apply to several different schools. And I, the same years actually, was lucky enough to get admitted to a PT program. Mm-hmm. So I go from the high school to the physical therapy program, because in Italy we do have a high school that has already focused towards different majors, a little bit like the college here in the United States. So there is the high school, there is scientific high school, there is the technical high school, literature or classic, and it's a full curriculum program. So that kind of enable us then to pick a graduate course. At 19, I found myself in a white lab coat in one of the biggest hospital in Rome that was based on rehabilitation of neurological and genetic disorders. It was challenging, very difficult, overwhelming.
I think every DPT student will feel the same way. I don't care what country you're in. The first time you step in, and now I'm supposed to help all these people. I don't care what country you're in. You feel that burden, but that joy that you're there to help, right?
Exactly. I stick with it. It was, one step at a time, challenging, but very, very empowering, in a way, to be able to establish such a difficult communication sometimes, and then feeling that you're like really gaining those skills that you then can use to help actually other people. So in 2001, I graduated. I practiced in Italy for 9 years. I continued working in the neurological field for a long time. I did enjoy also the orthopedic field. So this is why, I completed the master on clinical physical therapies on postural rehabilitation, work with teenagers and things like that. So I really very passionate about my job. Now, in 2010, my husband got a position in Baltimore, Maryland, to work in the drug of abuse research. He just has finished his doctorate in pharmacology. The National Institute of Health, the NIH in Baltimore, offered him this position. Very excited to go. His boss at this time told us that you are going to be very happy in the United States also because your wife is a physical therapist. Mm-hmm. So physical therapy is one of those professions certified by the Department of Labor as a one eligible for the Schedule A green card, meaning that it's one of those professions that are, as I said, certified to lack skilled U.S. workers. There is a shortage. So if you wanted, you could have a request basically to apply for a permanent residence based on your profession. So without the need to have a visa or to have like an employer sponsor you. Now we come to Baltimore, and so I do a little research, and I try to apply for the board of physical therapists for Maryland. Now, the first thing that I found myself to deal with is find an agency who will take in charge of evaluating my credentialing and my school in Italy. There were 4 agencies listed on the website. I tried to contact all 4 of them, and just one replied back to me. And so I started, all my process with the International Credentialing Associates. They were based in Florida. Today, I checked yesterday, today are no longer recognized by the Maryland board. It was a long journey, licensing in the United States takes several steps. And I do understand that it's very important for someone coming from another country to be thoroughly evaluated as equivalent to a U.S. worker, definitely a professional. But that does require, to collect all the school record, all the translation, the notarized documentation, and all of that to be sent directly to a school, to this private agency.
Francesca,
yes.
So your records are in Italian.
Exactly.
I see. So that's why there's that extra step for you, because the transcript has to be translated.
The transcript has to be translated. So, as I said, in 2001 is that when I graduated from school, and most of my paper, and it was really in paper, like most of my documents were not like even electronics. And so definitely they were not description of one single course that I took. I mean, it was, it was a little bit back then. So that was an extra step, yes, to have someone, complete all that job in Italy, and they notarize the translation, and all this documentation, as I said, has to be sent from the university directly to the agency. So when they receive this, and I run the evaluation, and I declare, it's not equivalent, and mostly because in Italy there's not a college, so there's not all the chunk of undergraduate credit that I was missing. Even though, as I said, I took several certifications, I completed a master, the graduate credits were more than what needed, but the undergrads were not there, the undergraduate credits. So basically, when you are declared not equivalent, they assign you what classes you could take to fulfill that deficiency. That means really enroll in a college, be admitted in a college, be resident in a state for, depending, 3 months, 6 months, so that you pay a little bit less. You're not considered out-of-state student for the tuition. So I had to wait a little bit, review some math, review how to write an essay, because you still have to admit it to college, pick my classes and things like that. And all of a sudden, during a party, an Italian nurse that was practicing in the United States told me that I could have just retrieved some of the paper from my high school, because that, as I said, is a full curriculum, is already focused over some specific majors, a science major. And so I called the agency and said, is that true? And they said yes. So, all the time that I spent waiting to be enrolled in a college as an in-state student and try to review some math and all of, Okay, so I contacted my high school and we went through the same thing. I need a description of the courses that I'm taking. I need an English that has to be translated and notarized, my diploma. In that, it's months and months and months that add up. And if you're not satisfied with that agency, you're not gonna switch to another one. One, because there's no option really. That at the time was the only one that really replied to me. Second, because as I said, the paper have to go directly from the school to the agency. So you don't want to start that again, ask your school, hey, now I'm with this other agency, could you just do that again? So you're kind of stuck in the hands, it's all your life, all your paper, all your documents. And what happened to me is that I don't know why, really. I never had an explanation for this, but they stopped answering to my email and telephone call twice.
Wow.
And I just could reestablish a communication, really, switching telephone number.
That's
So,
interesting.
yes. So as I said, sometimes it was not really a reason given. Being the only agency, maybe the answer in that moment for the whole state of Maryland, maybe they were too overwhelmed. I don't know. I mean, they did follow me through the end. They were very, happy for me when this process was over. When I really got my license, I passed my board. I received even a card in my mail. Like they were really happy, But that's what happened.
It sounded like a very long, painful process. Do you remember more or less, start to finish, how long this journey was?
Start to finish was 2011 to 2017. But
6 years.
yes, but I have to say that in the midst of all of that, there was us moving from Baltimore to Texas and back to Baltimore with a year spent, almost a year spent in Italy. So it was not like a continuum. Yes, because my husband has to follow different projects, so we have to move here and there. So it was a long, long time, and maybe also because of that, they kind of stopped, I don't know, talking to me somehow. I don't know, but that might be it. So the English proficiency and the requirement for the TOEFL, let's say, was the last things really required after I did gather all the credits necessary for being, certified as a equivalent to a U.S. Training. So the TOEFL is a challenge, and I took it twice. And both of the time I failed the speaking section, even though I was already working as a technician. I was already, in the US at that point for, 7 years. I volunteered in a lot of environment, even in elementary school. But what happens is that the speaking section, the whole test is challenging. It's timed. You have a minute to do one thing, 45 seconds to do the other thing. So the speaking is really try to summarize the most important details of what you maybe have read or listen, and kind of make a summary in those 45 seconds. And all the time, because of maybe a little hesitation, you miss that detail. And it's not that it's like really pass or fail. You got a score, and that score was not sufficient for the to be admitted to take the for the board of Maryland, for the state of Maryland. They have different score, probably in different score for different states. I don't know. But yes, so that was.
So that's, I think, something that our listeners who may be internationally educated can understand. I'm seeing a pattern talking to different nationalities, and I think unique to America is that there are 50 states in the United States, and each 50 state can have its own particular flavor or brand or ruling on how or who is going to be accepted to become a physical therapist. And some states may even have different TOEFL score requirements. Some may accept different credentialing agencies. And that's part of the adjustment, because in my country, in the Philippines, there's one agency, and that covers the entire country from Apari to Holo, the two northernmost southernmost islands. How is it in Italy? How many regulatory bodies are there for the entire nation?
There is just the Ministry of Health, really, that regulates, the ability for physical therapy to practice in the whole country as well. So once you graduated from your school and the Ministry of Health declared you, able to practice, then you can, go ahead and practice in all the region of the country as well.
Right. So for any of our international listeners, this is important, and you'll know why later on in the interview. Okay. So, Francesca, it took a long time. How were you able to resolve the TOEFL situation?
Again, it's like I came to learn this after I took and prepared for the TOEFL, for a couple of months, and I think I was trying to figure this out, to tell you exactly how, but unfortunately I wasn't able to. I'm not able to remember well if it was the Board of Maryland or the agency to tell me if it's either the TOEFL or that you enroll in an English course at a college in person. Okay, so either one of them, I'm not sure who, but told me after I tried the TOEFL and after, at least the agency knew that I wasn't able to pass the TOEFL because I was like keeping them on the loop. I'm doing this, I'm doing that.
I can tell you, Francesca, I've been in the U.S. for 20 years. This is the first time I learned that one of the jurisdictions, Maryland, will accept you enrolling in school. So hopefully this will help anybody who's trying to get into Maryland. That's another option on establishing English proficiency, right? So
exactly.
At least from your hardship, somebody else hopefully will benefit.
Exactly. And I tell you the truth, it was much better than preparing for the TOEFL myself. To go there, and the TOEFL is like 4 hours test. The stress of it is like the hairset and everything, compared to a college class, which I don't know was like 3 months or it was just a trimester probably, where we are with other students, you have an interaction, you do your essay and exercise, and you actually get to, instead of preparing yourself alone and then get that shot. It was much a better experience.
It's a very high stakes, it's a very high stakes one test, and that's really very challenging for some people. And I'm glad that that the class environment really worked for you. And Maryland does that, but I would love to hear if there are other states that does do that, right?
Exactly.
So you got that, and you passed that to Maryland, the Maryland board, and then they said, "Welcome, congratulations, you're now licensed." And then you started practicing.
Exactly. So I started practicing in July 2017. I was, of course, I was really happy. At that time, I was working as a technician in a small office with a wonderful woman that owned, his physical therapy business. So she really, taught me. Walk me through all the insurances and all the documentation writing, because that's definitely different from Italy. That's something that I haven't learned in school, or I didn't take any class about that. So when the license came, I was actually ready, to start 100%. And then
what setting was it?
Mm-hmm.
What setting?
Setting was it was outpatient, orthopedic. A lot of like workers' compensation, post surgery, a little bit of everything. But she really treated that office like her home. So it was a wonderful experience, really. Like 3 years of practicing in Maryland, I was really happy. I built a lot of connection. Grew up with my profession as well, with all the continuing education. I really, really love that. Probably that's one part that we don't have so much established in Italy, and I really, really value, and I love that about United States. So that was great. Yes.
I'm glad. So you've been practicing now for like 3 years in Maryland, right? And you shared with me before we started recording that some sort of situation in your family life required you to move. And that again brought another set of challenges. Could you tell us about that?
Sure. So my husband got a position in New York, we were really excited to move into to the big city. It's like a dream. I don't know, maybe that
Well,
everybody has
Rome is not exactly,
the small city,
the
right?
Korean side, So, but I guess a new city, a different city, right?
A different city for sure. And
Hmm.
anyway, after about 10 years living, Baltimore is a city, but
Right, that's true.
definitely a smaller city. So,
Mm.
kind of to go back to subway and transportation and all of that, we were excited.
Right.
So, and he got the position. He didn't receive even the letter yet. But I started applying to the board of New York right away because
Mhm.
I knew it would take some time.
Right.
So I applied July, probably was the end of July,
Mhm.
and the system prompts you to say allow 6 weeks for your application to be reviewed. And 6 weeks go by. I called them again, and they said, "Oh, we don't have anything about you, meaning your education." And
Oh.
I said, "No, I upload everything because while I was doing my application, it says if you are foreign trained, you have to upload an original copy of your diploma, of your, and everything." So I did that, scanned everything accurately and upload everything as required. So I'm like, no, I upload everything. Oh, and plus it's like they would ask you, I don't know, the high school, when the date of start, the date of graduation, and same for all the certification that I took. And actually, I put also the US classes that then I had to go through. So it's like, no, I did fill every field and upload every documentation, and said, no, your education have to come to us through the FCPT agency.
Right.
So at
Another
that
different credentialing agency, not the one you use for Maryland from Florida, a different agency, because New York State has their own different rules and regulations on who and how you apply to become physical therapist. This is what happened, right?
exactly. So and that's the only really agency, as you said. There's not even the choice of four like I had before. It's like the only agency that accept your paper to come to go to them.
Right.
And so when I understood the states were not talking to each other at all, that I have to go back to square one, where I have to prove myself again, be reevaluated again, even if I was still practicing in not in the next state, but for our drive.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was really a scary sensation. Like that really set us a little bit because New York is, the lifestyle of New York is a little bit more expensive. We're really, we're counting on both income, and so. I contact SCCPT right away, apply to their website. I have to say the process of dealing with them a little bit easier than the previous agency because they have everything on their website. They do update your status. So there's not like telephone call or email. There is that too, but it's a little bit
I will say this: FCCPT is a bigger organization, and people from my country, the Philippines, we're used to dealing with them more because they seem to be like the big agency that we all usually have to deal with. So their processes, even their website, is much more polished than I did to the credentialing agencies. I did both with the IERF and both with ICD. Right. So I've that's why these stories just keep repeating and repeating and repeating. And I have to say FCCPT is just a little bit more sleek. And where are you now in your processing with FCCPT? How's it going?
So basically, I don't know. The system does say allow about 2 weeks for us to contact your school in Italy to receive that documentation back to us. Has been now 2 months, and one of the letter was sent. Yeah, two letters were sent probably like 2 weeks ago or so. One was sent 2 days ago. One has still to be sent. So those 2 weeks where I was hoping, all my school received the request. has expanded to 2 months now.
Wow.
So I mailed them saying, any delay, it really is a delay of my ability to work.
Right. The
So
economic loss is significant for you.
it's significant, exactly, significant indeed. And the other thing that I'm gonna say is that you don't know what's the next step. So even if you say, to the board or to the agency, hey, this is my curriculum, this is what I've been done, this is what I did. What do you think? I'm gonna be request to do next. That I don't know. So that's the other thing, is that I did my application. I'm hoping that this is going to be quick, but I don't know if they will evaluate me as not equivalent again, if they will consider the classes that I took in Maryland or not, if they will ask me another, English proficiency testing. I don't know what's going to be next, as I didn't know when I did my process in Maryland. Like, nobody knew to start with. So I'm just doing it, but I don't know how long it's going to take and what I have to undertake.
Right. So again, we're going back again to that concept where the unique thing about practice in the US is that all 50 states and the 3 territories, they all have state level laws. And the senators of that state, not the federal senators, are the ones who decide what those laws are, if they're going to change. Or regulatory wise, the state boards of each state, they all have their own ideas. I think they call that state rights. That's something that the United States just has done since the beginning. So in order for us to affect maybe change, Francesca, maybe it's too late for you and me. We have to go through this because this is our burden. But maybe we can help make it better for those who will come after us, right?
Exactly.
The next Filipino is the next Italian. So that's why right now there is a grassroots effort at each state through the APTA, Internationally Educated PT Work Group. And what we're asking IEPTs to do is to reach out to your state component. Well, first, be an APTA member. And I'm very grateful that you are an APTA member. You understand the value of membership. Writing a letter to your state president, letting them know that we are not asking to be exempted from screening. We're not asking for that because we all agree that the American public has to be protected. What we are asking is, would it be possible for all 50 states to sit down and just agree, can we minimize duplicating or maybe inconsistencies? Because I'm almost sure all 50 states would agree they all want to protect their citizens the same way. And there is an effort right now for our APTA members and even for non-APTA members to reach out to the presidents and let them know that this is something you're interested in.
Well, I definitely believe that, engaging the national and APTA advocacies, rely on the work and the commitment of FSBPT can make it, can make this process happen. So I think that we as internationally educated physical therapists are the voice that needs to be heard. To raise awareness of the impediments that are set before us in order for us to practice such an important profession and really to earn a living for our family. So I think that talking to you, coming all together, raising awareness on the specific obstacle that each one of us had to face, because as you said, in each state is slightly different, so or like majorly different. So it's we can fix what is not working for us, but really for the society now we live in. Because as has been said before to a work group on this matter organized by the American Physical Therapists Association, we as internationally trained, we are like, we can bring diversity to our workforce, we can connect a little bit maybe with some minorities, we can establish a closer therapeutic relationship, we can bring a little bit of innovation with the new technique learned overseas. So, I definitely believe that coming together and making our effort to contact, our chapters and the state, the chairs, maybe with separate letters. That's a great way.
May I also invite you, Francesca, and all the other APTA members and potential APTA members. There is a forum in the APTA Hub specifically set for people like us. So, for example, maybe Francesca will type a nice little story for me, for us, and then share it there. And the headline will be IEPTs from Italy. This is what I learned. So that's Francesca's contribution to making the step easier. The Filipinos will do the same. The Indians will do the same. The Canadians, the Irish, because I really thought it was going to be more of a Philippines and India concern. But just speaking to you right now, I love that how this really is something that encompasses a lot of nationalities more than you think it would, right? And we all have an innate desire in our heart to be of service to our patients. We understand the rules of America, we abide by them, we respect them, but we're just asking, for fairness and equity, especially if we've done it already before. If we've already established our credentials before, and that's all we're asking. Is that right, Francesca?
That's exactly right.
that's all we're asking. So, Francesca, is there anything else you want to share with our audience? Anything you want to let them know about your experience?
No, I think I a little bit covered them all, but I definitely agree that forum where everybody can say, "Hey, this worked for me here and this worked for me there." It's definitely usable.
So, thank you so much. Once again, thank you, Francesca, for being our guest today and sharing your story. We hope that our audience learn more about your perspective as a internationally educated PT from Italy, and we hope that you can continue the conversation of equity and fairness for all in the forums. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for listening today to the Life in Motion podcast. Striving for excellence doesn't demand perfection. Just be a little better in all that we do than yesterday. This is Ben Aguila. Till our next episode. God bless.